Good day to everyone watching this video. My name is Eddie, the founder of the Hands Fashion Academy. In continuation with our teaching, today we shall be taking you on how to read the measuring tape. As you can see, the measuring tape has two sides. One side of it is calibrated in inches, while the other is calibrated in centimeter, which is the metric system. Though we are going to start with the part that is calibrated in inches first, before we go to that part that is calibrated in centimeter and millimeters. So we shall start, and we will try to avoid all the difficulty that is involved in the mathematical calculation and just make you understand the aspect of reading it, where you could just at least read your tape and understand what each line that is marked on the tape, both the centimeter and the inches, is representing. We are starting with the part of the tape that is calibrated in inches. We would also like to let you know that there are three ways that this part of the tape that is marked in inches is marked by. We have that which is marked in 1/8, we have the 1/16, we also have the 1/32. But that 1/32 is just not commonly used. The two common ones that are used in the fashion industry and in other industry too is the 1/8 and the 1/16 that we are going to be discussing in this lecture. But just for precision, if you want to be exact, because a lot of what we do in the fashion industry has to do with division of circumferences. So when you divide, you're going to have smaller divisions. So for the 1/32, you will be able to use the smaller part of it. But the 1/8 and the 1/16 is commonly used because you can approximate and you still get what you want. So we are starting now with the 1/8, which is just exactly before you now. For the 1/8, if you look at it, we have 0 to 1 inch, then 1 inch to 2 inches. If you count the lines that are marked on the 1 inch, which is where we are concentrating on, we have 8 lines. That's why it's called 1/8. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So these lines are representing something. All these things have already been done, which you're seeing in what I'm doing now. The first line, no, we don't count from the beginning, because what we're actually counting on the tapes are the spaces, not actually the line. The first space that give rise to the first line, that's from here, from the 0, which is the 0 you're seeing here, to the first line, is the 1/8, followed by the next one, which is the 2/8 that you're seeing that is written in red. The next one is the 3/8, if you're counting the lines by what I said. After 3/8, you're going to have the next space and the next line representing it, which is the 4/8. After 4/8, the next one is going to be the fifth line, which is the 5/8. After the 5/8, the next one is the sixth line, which is the 6/8. Because we are saying 6/8 because it's calibrated. The lines are marked in 8. There are 8 that is marked. Now after 6/8, the next one is 7/8. After 7/8, you have 8/8, which is a whole number when you do your division, and that represents 1. The same thing we've just done here is the same thing you're going to do to get to 2 inches. The same thing you're going to do and get to 3 inches, and the same thing you're going to do and go ahead. But it's the same thing. Whatever you do in the first inches is just the same thing you're going to do. So if you look at the second line, now you have the red to make you remember it easily. So if you want to count, you're going to count 1, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and 8/8. Now, the reason why we wrote the one that you're seeing down here in blue is what you're commonly going to hear people talk about. So we're going to explain. A lot of persons will not be telling you 1, 8, 2, 8, 3, 8, 4, 8, 5, 8, 6, 8, and 7, 8 to 8, 8. But now, we are going to come down to explain the blue lines, which are the common things you're going to hear people use. So when they use it, you don't get confused. Okay, remember that the lines are 8. And from 0 to 1 is a whole number. And commonly, if you divide 1, which is 0 to 1 into 2, you're going to have half, which is 1 over 2. That 1 over 2, if you count the lines, is still 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the same thing as for 8. But remember that when you have a whole number and you divide that whole number into 2, you're going to get half of it, which is half. So we're going to just explain how this half came about. If 4 divided itself is going to give you 1. 8 divided by 4 is going to give you 2. That is how we got half. If you look at it again, you divide the half of an object into 2, you're going to get 1 over 4, which is quarter. And that quarter is still 2 8 by what I said before, which is 1 8 2 8. So how we got the 1 over 4 that is written here, which is the same thing as 2 8, is if you write the fraction down, which is the 2 8, you're going to have 2 dividing itself is going to give you 1. 2 dividing 8 is going to give you 4. That is the quarter that you're seeing here now. So when you have 1 divided by 2, you're going to have a half. 2 divided by the half divided by 2, you're going to have quarter, which is 1 over 4. So we will continue. Now, if you divide quarter into 2, you're going to have 1 8. We don't need to explain so much about the 1 8 because it is just self-explanatory. So the next one we are to discuss now is the 6 8. I think you already understand 1 8, which is the first. We've done 2 8, which is the second. We've done 3 8, which is the third. We've done 4 8, which is half. We've done 5 8, which is the next after the half by the numbers 1 2 3 4 5. So the next one we are going to be discussing now is the 6 8. So the 6 8, if your counting is just clear without so much of explanation, but sometimes you're going to hear some person say 3/4. So how we got the 3/4 is what I'm trying to explain now. So if 6 divided by 2, you're going to have 3. If the same 8 divided by 2, you're going to have 4, which is giving rise to 3 over 4, which is what you're seeing here now. So that is how we got 3 over 4. And if you look at the tape, if it is 3/4, if you look at the tape, it's divided into 4 quarters. So you have the first quarter from here to here is one of the quarters. From here to here is another quarter. Then from here to here is the third quarter, which is 3/4. So I hope it's simple enough without so much of complication, so that whenever you see this, you're going to know that this is 3/4. So the next one we want to talk about now is the 8 8. But before the 8 8, we have the 7 8. So if you just count it, it's straightforward. So 7 8 is the 7 marked, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, which is 7 8. So the next one after 7 8 is the whole number 8. 8 8, which 8 divided by itself is going to give you 1, and 1 becomes the whole number. So let me use that to show you how we got the division. So if you look at this, we'll have 8 dividing itself is going to give you 1. It's simple enough. So that's just what we want you to understand in this lecture before we move to the 1/16. So even if you want to even explain it, or you take a measurement, let me just try to do a brief explanation of the two. If you take a measurement and you arrive at this, what you're going to say is going to be 1 1/4, because this is quarter. If it is 2, it's going to be 2 and a quarter. If you arrive at this, you're going to have this as 1 1/8. You're going to have the next as 1 1/4. The next will be 1 3/8. We already explained how we got the 3/8. The next one is going to be 1 1/2. The next one is going to be 1 5/8. The next one is going to be 1 3/4, which is the whole number divided into 4/4 that gave rise to the 3/4. Then the next one is going to be 1 7/8. If it is 2 that you're using, it's going to be the same thing. It's just a representation of what you've already done before. So I think it's simple enough for you to understand. That's how we read the measuring tape. Let's continue our next calibration, which is the 1/16. This is the 1/16, like I mentioned to you before. The entire thing you're seeing here is 1 inch. It's not 2 inches, unlike the first one we attended to before. So if you look at it, from 0 to 1 is 16 lines that are marked or calibrated on the tape for the 1/16. So if you divide 1 into 2, you're going to have the half that we've discussed before. If you divide the half into 2, you're going to have quarter, which we've discussed before. If you divide the quarter into 2, you're going to have 1/8, which is the major thing we discussed when we are talking about the 1/8. But for the 1/16, it is also possible that you can divide the 1/8 into 2 for precision. And if you divide that 1/8 into 2, you're now going to have 1/16. Now remember that by passing, I also mentioned that we also have 1/32. For still precision, just to get the smallest division, if you go further to divide this 1/16 into 2, you're going to have, in this space, you're going to have 1/32. And that will give you another calibration in between all the spaces that you're seeing, which is not particularly necessary. But because this is zoomed in, it is looking like the space is very wide. But if you look at it on the tape, you're going to see that the calibrations will be small. Let me show you an example. Just like I said, looking at the tape now, this is 1/8. From this 1 to 2 is 1/8. So in between it is where we now have the 1/16 that you're seeing here now. Just that the one on the paper is zoomed in, so it's very big. That's why you're seeing the space is big. But this 1/16 you're seeing is in between this. And you can see that it's getting smaller. So that's why most times we just prefer to use this 1/8 and approximate when we're working. Okay. This one is the 1/16. If you look at it, it's getting very small. From 1 to 2 is the whole number. You divide the 1 into 2, it will give you this half. You divide it to give you this quarter. Then you divide the quarter again, it gives you the 1/8 that we're talking about. Then you now divide again, you're going to have 1/16 in between. So like the 132 we talked about, it's going to be in between this, and it's getting very small. That is why it's not particularly very necessary in the industry. So we either work with the 1/8 and approximate, or you work with the 1/16 and approximate if you want to be precise. If not, 1/8, 1/16, they're okay for you to do your divisions and get your work done. So for the 1/16 that you're seeing now, we have 0 to 1. 1 divided by 2, you're going to have half. Half divided by 2, you're going to have quarter, which we've already explained in the 1/16. Quarter divided by 2, you're going to have 1/8 that we've discussed before. But since this is the 1/16, for precision, if you divide the 1/8 into 2 again, you're going to have 1/16. So let's count the lines that are marked or calibrated on the 1/16. You see that there are 16 lines. Remember, we're actually not counting from the first line, which is 0. It's just the space. And then the one that gave rise to the first space is this one. So we have 1, which is 1/16. We have 2, which is 2/16. like we said before, if you do the fractional division, you're going to see how we got 1/8. So 2 divide itself is 1. 2 divide 16th is going to give you 8. That's why it is 1/8, which is what you're going to hear people say a lot, not actually the 2/16. The next one after that one is 3/16. After 3/16, which is clear, the next one is the 4th line, which is quarter, and that's 4/16. Now, the common thing you're going to hear people calling to represent 4/16 is going to be quarter, which is, like we said before when we were talking about the 1/8, is the half divided by 2. It gave rise to quarter. Now, for this is this 4/16. If you look at it in the fractional division, 4 divided itself, it's 1. 16 divided by 4 will have 4. That's why it is 1/4, which is quarter. So if you get to that quarter is 1/16, 2/16, 3/16, 4/16, which we've already explained how we got the quarter to you. Then the next one after the 4/16 is going to be 5/16. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After 5/16, you're going to have 6/16, which if we do the fractional division again, what you're going to hear, like we said before, which is the common thing you're going to see, is 3/8, which is what we explained in the first calibration. 6/16, which is also 3/8. So you have 6 divided by 2, you have 3. 16 divided by 2 also, you are going to have 8. That's what gave rise to 3/8, which is 3/8, like we said before when we were discussing the 1/8. So the next one is going to be 7/16, which is clear enough. Counting the line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is clear enough. So after 7/16, you're going to have 8/16, and that 8/16 is the half when you're discussing the 1/16 calibration. So if you look at it again, 8 divided itself is 1. 16 divided by 8 is 2, which is what gave rise to the 1/2, which is the half. So the next after that is 9/16. After 9/16, if you count again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the 9th line. After 9/16, you're going to have 10/16, which is the red mark you're seeing here, which is 5/8, like we discussed before. If you do the fractional division, you're going to have 10 divided by 2, you have 5. 16 divided by 2, you have 8, which is 5/8. That's what gave us the 5/8. So the next after 10/16, which is 5/8, is 11/16. That's clear. If you count the line, you're going to arrive at 11/16. Then the next after that is 12/16, which is 3/4, like we discussed in the other measurement when we were discussing the 1/8. So if you see the fractional division, you're going to see that 12 divided by 4 is going to give you 3. 16 divided by 4 is going to give you 4, which is 3/4. Because we are talking about the 16th calibration, if you count it, you're also going to have the line being at the number 12, who gave us the 3/4. The next one after that is 13/16. If you count the lines again, you're going to have 13, is going to be the 13th line, which is the 13/16. After that, you're going to have the 14/16. The 14/16, to also do the fractional division, if you look at it, 14 divided by 2 is going to give you 7. 16 divided by 2 is going to give you 8, which is 7/8 that you're seeing. If you remember the first thing we discussed, you're going to know how we got 7/8. So after 14/16, you're going to have 15/16. The other ones that we are not showing you the division is that it is simple and straightforward. That's why we're not even talking about the fractional division. After the 15/16, the next one you're going to have, like we discussed before, is going to be 16/16, which if you divide, 16 dividing itself is going to give you 1. That forms the whole number. The only difference between the 1/16 and the 1/8 is just because if you want to be precise and you want to get the division in between 1/8 and 0, you're going to have 1/16. Then if you divide again, you still want to get the smaller division, you're going to have the 1/32. So that's for this part of the tape that is calibrated in inches, which has fractional divisions. So I think it's simple enough. The next one we are going to discuss now is the metric, which is on the other side of the tape, which is in centimeter and millimeters. On the other side of the tape, we have the metric system, which you're seeing now on the tape. So the metric system is calibrated in centimeter and millimeters. Now we have 0 to 2 centimeters. But what we are going to be concentrating on is 0 to 1 centimeter. We have 10 marks on the tape. So if you divide 1 centimeter into 2, we are going to have 0.5, which is also 5 millimeter. We might not, on this, we don't need to do so much of division. We just go ahead. We have, remember that we're not counting from the first line because it's the space that we're actually considering. So you're going to have 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1. These other smaller lines you're seeing inside are the millimeters. So, like, why we'll just mark these two is so that you can see an example of how it's used. On the tape, if you're measuring somebody and you arrive at this, it's going to be 1.3 cm. So if you have this, it's going to be 1.4 centimeter. If you have this, it's going to be 1.5 centimeter. If you have this, it's going to be 1.6 centimeter. So to the next, so to 8, so to 9, before you get to 2 centimeters. So this is simple enough. It's just straightforward. It's just 0 to 1, 1 to 2 is 2 centimeter, and so on. The others are the millimeters. So you just say 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9 to 1, 1.1 centimeter, 1.2 centimeter, 1.3 centimeter, 1.4 centimeter, 1.5 centimeter, 1.6, 1.7, 8, 9, and 2 centimeters. So that's just straightforward enough. Please like and share this video. If you want us to discuss any particular thing, you write it in the comment section. We'll look at it. Then we'll do a video to explain that and make it simple for you to understand enough.